This episode of Made in America is brought to you by America's Inventor Lady and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King's Broadcasting Network, which has been bringing you the best in home-based innovation since 1998.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us for this episode of Made in America.
This segment is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Baraska. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years.
The Made in America
for all
show
your inventing
right
legal
here
needs,
King's
trust
Broadcasting Network. I wanna welcome
RPBLawoffices.com.
all our radio affiliates and specifically all our audience and our listeners that's now transitioning over from the Invent America show. I hope all you... everyone out there really liked the show, the topics. So we want to welcome all of you. And Rita is going to explain the Inventor Lady herself, the difference between the Invent America show and Made in America. There's a difference. But hey, it's always about the products and the services and the technology that's going to be made here in the United States. We always talk about the features and benefits of producing here in the U.S. and what's happening in the current state of our industry. When it comes to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, eventually we're going to kind of hold back on that a little bit till they make the final ruling. But they finally really being aggressive on the companies that have misleading you, the American consumer, on the products that's actually made here in the United States. So a lot going on. But I can't do this show by myself. So let me bring in my sidekick, the Inventor Lady herself. She's now here. Miss Rita Crompton. Miss Rita, what a great show we did on the Invent America show. I'll tell you, it was just some great information. That Mike Wood, man, he's an amazing individual, ain't he?
He is. He's wonderful to visit with. Very cool products, and I've seen them all working. I've got the one on my roof. It's fun to visit with him and to see what's going on. And, the Invent America Hour are those inventors that are, they might be making in the U.S., they may not be. It's all about price points. Can we do it? But they're in those early stages of getting a product into the marketplace. So, we talk about, Invent America because America invents, but with the Made in America Hour, these are products now that have grown up a little bit more. They're out there in the world. The people that are making them, they usually have family stories and how they got there. So we want to be able to talk about the story and the people that are making right here in our own backyard. And that's what we do. It's kind of like, inventing 2.0. We see it, we make it, we do it. And, how the inventors can, really have an impact on their community when they're making right here. And even if they're not, setting up a factory and putting people to work, they're still hiring factories to do the work. They're still employing people to do the different jobs. And for the Made in America, that's what it's all about, is how things trickle down.
Well, it also, what I like about it kind of is the education information that we provide, because, when we talk to these, and I'm talking about the Invent America show, because I'm going to segue it and set up the punchline here. But at the end of the day, the misconceptions that are out there when we talk to inventors about producing here in the United States, and then we give them the pros and cons on why you should produce here in the United States. And then in the Made in America kind of, reinforce this from American manufacturers, because my goal is to try to get as many offshore manufacturers and entrepreneurs to try to, work it out to where they can start producing here in the United States. Because a lot of times right off the surface, they say, well, I can't produce here in the United States because, it's just too high, or or whatever reason they give. And then when we can kind of educate them and say, hey, you're really not getting the right information. You know what I'm talking about, Rita? So both shows kind of help each other, but eventually it's to get them all over here on the Made in America side. You know,
Yes.
that's the goal. Everybody
Absolutely.
says, what is your mission statement? Well, that's the goal. If you haven't figured it out yet, because I've been doing this for 30 years now, and you met me crying wolf at the trade shows and explaining to people, back in the early days, and they thought I was Rita, it lost me a lot of affiliates. It lost me a lot of sponsors too in the early days because they thought I was crazy. They thought King, but then I said, well, this is going to come to bite you on the rear end, and it has bit them on the rear end. So as always, they were wrong and I was right, right? So let's just say that. That's a Donald Trump thing. They were wrong and I'm right. I'm gonna take it from our president. They were wrong and I was right. So I'm still here and they're not.
We are.
We're still here.
Yeah, we are still here. So that is a good thing, and that's proof. Yeah. And proof's in the pudding. Yeah. And we are still here. So you go, Mike.
A lot of years. Yeah, I can't say it. I'm right. But no, it was just common sense to know that. And then I had to go out there and do our my little tests and our little surveys and our little experiments that I've done over the years. And boy, I was like, before I put it out there on the air, I had to make sure that I could back up what I was saying. Because,
someone will hold you accountable.
30 years. Yeah, well, 30 years, my legal department's really been, I keep them busy. You know what I mean? I really keep them busy, But if like you're saying, if you tell the truth and you just explain to people the pros and cons, and that's the whole goal, huh, Rita? Just the pros and cons and giving them the information. And then they're going to have to make their decision whether or not they want to offshore it or they want to bring it here in the U.S. And I know we're going to be talking to Chris. So tell us a little bit about Chris, our guest that's going to be coming up.
Well, Chris found me out there on social media. So it's always, fun to know that that's working. But he's got a cool product now for kids. And, there are two industries that people will just spend a ton of money on. Their kids and their pets. So, when we get one that's in, that kids segment and, it's fun, it's easy, it makes sense. It's like, as soon as I saw it on his website, it's like, okay, wish I'd had that around when my kids were 4 and now they're in their 40s. So, that was, it's like, gee, really cool. And, it's fun to bring those people on so we can talk about the things that are made right here in our backyard. Yep. But he's got a fun family story too. And, some of these people that I get on and there's times when they go back to the late 1800s that they've been making the product or different variations of the product. And, I've got one gentleman that I've been working on him. There's like, well, we don't sell to the American consumer. It's like, you sell all over the world and your product is made right here in our backyard. Yeah. And it is a really cool product, but they ship it out everywhere. And I can't, one way or another, I am going to get that industry on this show.
Yeah. Well, I love about America, technology is that, when I evaluate other countries, they're either going to be an import country or an export country. Very seldom you have a country that can do both. China is an export country. That's how they survive, exporting. They steal technology. And, that's a show for another day. We did many shows on that, but it's a proven point that they steal it, but the American manufacturer goes over there and protect it and they get their technology. Wow. I'm one who predicted that 30 years ago. Well, let me get off of that again, but, and they're paying the piper. But the point is, what's great about this great country is that, me, I give credit where credit's due, and I'm going to talk about our president. And, at the end of the day, he brought exporting back. The trade deficit has almost been cut in half. And the point is, we export, what's success about this country and the profitability in e-commerce and, capitalism is that we can export, right? Bring the stuff we want, the American consumer wants, which I got no problem with that. But we also export now where the rest of the country now wants our American-made products and technology, and it's growing exponentially each week. Where the rest of the country now wants our technology and wants our products, because they know that the American craftsmanship, the American labor, we're the best of what we do. We invent, we build, we sell, we market, and most important, you want to hear the key? We warrant it, and that's the key. Wow, yeah. The products are being warranted. Try to get other products warranted. Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know we've got some that it's guaranteed for the life of the product that it's going to work. And
was that my cue to get off? I haven't seen it.
I think that is that is our cue that we need to go and pay some bills.
Well, let's take a break. Okay, let's pay some bills right here on the King Broadcasting Network. He's flashing that card too quick. I don't see as good as well. This is Made in America right here on the Made in America King Broadcasting Network. We'll be right back. Yeah, y'all stay tuned now. Yeah.
This segment is brought to you by SearchQuest Patent Search. SearchQuest provides for a comprehensive patent search that searches the entire world and not just the U.S. Patent Office. Make sure that before you spend those big bucks having a patent written, you've done your due diligence by getting a comprehensive patent search. Use SearchQuestPatents.com for all your patent search needs. They scour the world for you.
Welcome to the Made in America show right here on the King's Broadcasting Network. And I want to welcome all of you, our new affiliates, and all our very veteran authors. That's one thing I could tell y'all. We have some of the best educated audience I tell you I've ever seen in 30 years on the air. And congratulations for doing your investigation, getting all the information, education you need. But and that's what we do here, Made in America. Miss Rita, though, I've been, I pumped up Chris a lot, and I'm excited to have him on the show.
And my guest for this episode of Made in America is Chris Gallagher, and he invented the Connect-a-Noodle. It's a cool little product, for I don't know that there's any age on that. Is there, Chris?
Only over 3 years.
We've got to be over 3 years. So, you add a few decades to that and you could still enjoy Connect-a-Noodle. Tell everybody, Chris, what is it?
Well, thank you, Rita. It is both invented in America and made in America. Our fasteners were made here in Pennsylvania, and our noodles are made in North Carolina. And what it is that I've had them extrude square pool noodles, and then I run it through my automation. I put 57 holes in the sides, which is 19 per 3 sides. And you use very simple lockable fasteners or squeeze fasteners to fasten the noodles together. If you use the lockable fasteners, that allows somebody, I'm 200 pounds, you put 4 of them between each noodle, and it'll hold my 200 pounds no problem. And if you want to go in the ocean, you just put a couple more fasteners in there. As far as what it really is, it's a modular building system that allows you to use foam pool noodles to build large structures or play sets. And those play sets are great for the backyard, for the basement, for the, wherever you want to play, as well as the pool. Everything floats. And what it does is it sparks creativity in the kids. It gets them a little bit away from their screen time, and allows them to be creative with their friends, do team building, and a whole range of different activities.
Well, Connect-a-Noodle.com, and you need to use the hyphens in there, correct? Connect-a-Noodle.com, so that you can go in and see how much fun these things are. I can't wait to have some for, my grandkids. My daughter's putting in a pool in the backyard, and it's like, okay, we need to have some of these up there. So how did you get started? How did you come up with this idea?
Actually, well, I used to be a designer for Hasbro toys. So I have children.
There you go.
Exactly. I have children of my own, and they invited me upstairs, and they're very excited. And we go into their bedroom, and they had milled this pillow fort. And the warm light of the room filtered through this beige blanket down on the soft comforter below. My daughter Elise had her stuffed animal next to her light, and she goes, "Daddy, I read over here." And then Michael was up on the bed, and he had his stuffy animal. They were called stuffy animals, and his light, and he reads over there. And I just laid down and took it all in. Everything was child size and it was warm and it was so inviting. It was an incredible experience. I was like, I want to hold on to this moment my whole life. And then as I walked away, I kind of realized that I didn't teach him any of that. That's a natural expression of our state of being human beings, is to create our own environments and control, make them fit us. And so what happened is we went swimming that summer on vacation, and they were playing with pool noodles in the water, and it just got to be 1 + 1 = 2. It's like that's the perfect media to work with pillow forts, and it's nice and soft, and no one gets hurt. And the fact that they float was just a bonus. But we built an 8-foot Eiffel Tower for the Olympics last year just for fun. So it's so easy to do. They just pop together. No nail guns, no rotary saws, but we do have a non-sharp, no mess saw, and I can show it to you over here if you'd like. Would you like to see it?
That's all right. On radio, nobody's going to see it.
Well, I got the looks for radio, so I'm big time here. Okay, well, what it is, it's a saw that you can rub against your arm. You couldn't touch yourself if you wanted to, and it cuts right through the noodles. And the kids love the sound because it sounds like you're sawing wood, and it just cuts right through. So that you can build things using the full length noodles. Like right beside me, I have a boat that I show on the website with kids. They built it themselves, and then they raced in the camps against each other. And then you can also build, later on this year, we're going to have what are called Connect-a-Noodle assemblies. And those, like beside me, is a puppy dog made with that. And it'll sit, it'll stand, and if you knock it over, it'll fall over. But it's a nice ride too.
You've basically done Legos out of noodles.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Only they're a lot bigger, and you can step on them.
Yeah, there you go. You're not going to hurt your foot. It's like, how many times do I step on my grandson's Legos and think, oh my God, I've got a hole in my foot. And with these, it's like, oh, squishy, comfy.
Exactly. Yes, and you can build large structures. I mean, you can build log cabins. You can build obstacle courses. You can build all kinds of. You imagine it, and you can build it. They're lightweight. They encourage teamwork and get kids doing physically active things. Now, not to say that in the future we won't have an app and go after the Minecraft market, because the idea is that Minecraft can do everything virtually, but they can't do anything in the physical world. Ours can do both, because you'll just pick the noodle length you want, pop it together on the computer, and then you can build it in the real world, but that's going to take some investment.
There you go. There you go. So, where can people find your product?
We have it for sale in Baltimore, in Sinking Springs at a hardware store. We also have now, we're being very popular. We just rolled out. They're very popular with summer camps. They're buying the bulk pack, so they get the saw and the miter, and then they get 52 noodles, and it's like $112 for that. And but it's a very big kit and lots of fun for all the kids in the camp.
Well, that's wonderful. And we're going to come back and we're going to ask you some more questions. But right now we're going to get teed up for a break so that we can go and pay some bills. But if you're out there and you've got a product, or you know someone who's got a product and you want to be on the radio, get in touch with me, just like Chris did on LinkedIn, because you know what? There are 52 Mondays a year, and I always need somebody else manufacturing in America on this hour. We'll be right back with Chris Gallagher. If you're an inventor, or you know an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free. inventorsroundtable.org. And thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Made in America, because this is Inventing 2.0. We see it, we make it right here in our own backyard. And my guest for this episode of Made in America is Chris Gallagher. He has got this really cool, fun product called Connect-a-Noodle. If you've got kids, young adults wanting to have fun in the backyard, wanting to go to the ocean. Connect-a-Noodle.com. I think I'm going to get some from my mother. She's 90 years old. She'll kill me, but she'll have fun using it. So, Chris, thanks so much for being on with us. We are grateful. I just think this is the coolest thing. So, in the process of, building up, what has been your biggest challenge?
Our biggest challenge, well, first of all, my background is a professional designer, so I've designed hundreds and hundreds of products. So that gives me a lot of experience. But the trick was is that I designed the products, but I've never designed automation before. And I have an interesting story in that I sent it off to an engineering firm to build the automation, and an Amishman who raises chickens for eggs, he was going to run it, and he saw the automation. He called me back a week later. He goes, "Can I redesign it?" And what his solution was hands down better than what the engineering team. There are 3 engineers, and they should be embarrassed because he crushed it, and then he improved upon that as well. So John is a very good friend of mine and really did a beautiful job on our automation because he has to put all these 57 holes in a noodle in a couple seconds. So it's impressive.
Oh, that's great. Well, and it's funny because we hear that it's like not every engineer, not every designer is going to be good at everything. So I tell inventors, it's like, check around, find the one that works best for your product, because sometimes they come up with some really brilliant ideas.
Yes, he had me flat-footed, that's for sure.
It's, I've got a gentleman, a good friend in Denver that is kind of that garage type of let's solve the problem. And so when I get an inventor that says, all right, how do I do this? I say, you know what, the first one I want you to call is him, because he's going to take the baseline of what you've got and see if you can do it better. And I've had so many inventors say, okay, well, that was a good experience and that was wonderful. So, you never know until you get out there and start looking around at what the options might be.
Exactly. And a lot of people have had that reaction when I design their products, because they, it's like, okay, I have injection molding, blow molding, roto molding, etc. But, moving things that are going to put 57 holes in, I hadn't done that before.
So you needed somebody to help you. So what has been the biggest surprise in taking a product to market?
The biggest surprise for me was that some of the bigger dogs don't really recognize it's a $72 million a year market that only lasts 3 months in pool noodles. Then on top of that, we have Connect-a-Noodle assemblies, which we're going to roll into all the way into Christmas as well. And I thought they would be kind of, they were like, that is cool. But I loved one person walked up, looked at our 8-foot Eiffel Tower and goes, well, it's about time. And I was like, it is. Somebody should have done this years ago. So that was the only thing, was that the big companies haven't realized what a gold mine it is, because we extrude noodles at 16 inches a second. That means 8,000 miles from one die, and we have 2 dies. 18. That's bigger than the diameter of the Earth if you do the math. If you year round, obviously you run it. But so our production capacity is staggering. We also use we're very green, and that we use a lot less plastic. We use, obviously foam has a lot of air in it. But the nice thing is that kids can bop each other in the head and no one's going to get hurt. All the fasteners are quite well hidden, and it's not protruding chunks of plastic that when you swing it, someone can get injured. That was the highest thing, was make sure no one gets hurt. So it's.
And so how have you been able to get your product out there?
We've been getting our product out there mostly by, face-to-face, meeting people that are running these summer camps. We've got about 30 summer camps that have lined up and said, yeah, we definitely want to have them. We have some of them running tests, and some of them seeing right away what we can do with them. And the engagement, if you go to the website, you can see a lot of things have been designed specifically for the summer camps. And we can design really anything, because it's really not a single solution. It's something where the kids can make anything they can imagine, and in doing that, it's just very creative to solve.
Well, as you've gone through the steps, and dealt with the challenges, what's been the biggest disappointment?
The biggest disappointment, it's just maybe it's taken longer. I'm used to turning around products in 2 weeks because we have a whole team. I I design it, I toss it off because I'm partly engineering. I hand it off to the engineers. I am partly marketing because I have an MBA, and I hand it off to them, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, we got this," and they run it right through the system. This one, I'm doing everything on my own, so it's taking a lot more time.
Yes, and we've talked multiple times that, time is not your friend. But because, it's just, we can't invent more of that.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's like it's gone, and oh Lordy, it's a Monday again, and what do you mean? It's July instead of January, and time can just get away from us, and I think time is the biggest challenge because you can't invent more of it. Money is the second challenge, and even though you can make more, it's still a challenge.
Yes, it still takes time because I still have a full-time job, so I do this after I get home from work. But I do it with my family. My son actually, when we had a larger version that was a 4x4 foam noodle, and we launched a pirate ship in the pool. And as the logs began to drift apart, Mike was only 13. He looks up at me and he goes, "Dad, the fasteners have to lock the noodles together." And I was like, "Wow, you're exactly right." So his patent just issued in 2025, and he's my partner, and then my daughter is also my partner. She's worked more with the website, and then both of them were here. It's my 63rd birthday this past weekend, and both of them were working side by side with me on the automation, and we were cranking out about 50 boxes of noodles. So we were busy.
And happy birthday, because instead of eating a cake, you were making noodles.
That's right. A little bit different.
A little bit different birthday celebration, but good memories and good fun when you're all doing it together.
Exactly. And Elise tells me when I'll be back in 2 weeks, we can do this again. And actually some of Michael's friends stopped by and helped out as well. So special thanks to Morgan and Xavier, who stopped by and helped us as well. So it's just fun. We have a good time.
It's got to be really cool when you go someplace and see your product.
It is. You get used to it being a designer, though. It was funny when I was early in my dating career. I was with those little discs that are on all the TVs, so you can't walk out of the store because they hold the security tag to the TV. Yeah. I designed that like 30 years ago, and so I had a bunch of other products here, elsewhere. So I was with a date, and she's like, "Wow, so you designed this toy? That's like you're famous." And it's like, "No, I'm not." But I have seen my products all over the place because some of them are on the roads as far as road barriers. Some of them are, they're literally everywhere. So it's fun to have that impact.
It is. I know the first time I got on an airplane and I saw somebody reading the novel I had written and I didn't know them. It's like, yes, that was so cool.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't my mother, It's always fun to, the experiences when you start seeing the product get out there and people's having the reaction to it. And,
right.
It's wonderful to be able to do those things. And a lot of places you don't have that as an opportunity. Here we do.
Exactly. I was up skiing in Colorado Rockies in this obscure little place where you had a couple beers. And I looked right behind the disc jockey there that was playing the tunes. He had my CD tower that I had designed many years before. And it was kind of like, oh, it made it all the way up here. That's kind of fun.
It's fun. It's fun to see all those things that get out there and how things, change. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back. We're going to go and pay some bills right now. And stick with us, everybody. We will wrap up this episode of Made in America with Chris Gallagher and talk a little bit more about, some of those experiences he's had out there and, have some fun. So stick with us, everybody. We will be back for some more fun on Made in America.
TrueUp, easiest way to hang your pictures. We all know how stressful picture hanging can get. TrueUp comes with everything you need to level and hang pictures with no damage and no mess. Just peel, apply the adhesive to the back of the TrueUp mount and press firmly. Remove the remaining adhesive. Use the level and press and hold for 3 to 5 seconds to attach the TrueUp mount to your wall with a strong hold. The TrueUp frame adapter is compatible with most frames on the market. Apply the adhesive strip to the adapter, stick, and your frame hangs easily on the wall mount. This lets you adjust your picture side to side for perfect placement every time. The possibilities are limitless, and it's easy on your walls. Picture hanging can be truly a one-person job. True Up, the future of hanging is here.
And thanks so much for being with us for this episode of Made in America, and it is wonderful. So my guest for this segment of Made in America is Christopher Gallagher with Connect-a-Noodle.com. So if you want the coolest new gadget out there, toys for the kids, little kids, teenage kids, adult kids, or retirees who want to float on the water, or you want to build a new Eiffel Tower, who knows? But it is Connect-a-Noodle.com. Chris, thanks so much for being with us today. And, we talked about how your family has been involved. We talked a little bit about how, it's like, okay, we need to do it this way. How have you watched your product change over the years?
Oh, it's changed a lot. We started out with a 4x4 profile noodle, which was very hard to place because a lot of companies can't do that. And we're working with the #1 foam extrusion company in the United States to do that. Actually, when I first talked to them, their reputation was that they're very high end and they only work with Hasbro. So I called them up and a tech called me back and he said, well, in order to work with us, you have to start out with $100,000. And I said, well, I kind of heard about that from you guys. That's okay. And then the vice president, because I sent it through their website, vice president of marketing reached out and he goes, I want to sit down and talk with you. I love this product. I want to sit down and talk with you about it. Cost me $3,000, and Nomico stepped up and just a great partner in this adventure. So from the 4x4, which is a little bit big for homes, a lot of smaller homes, we realized we improved the fasteners from standard fasteners, which are simple, easy squeeze fasteners, to lockable fasteners, and then we made a change in our automation that allowed us to do regular pool size. So these are 2.5 by 2.5 pool-sized noodles, and actually we have other fasteners we're adding. We have lockable end-to-end fasteners. We have the saw and the non-sharp saw and no mess saw, and a miter that you can't make a bad cut with. You can't hurt yourself if you wanted to. So we have another miter coming out. There's a variable angle miter, and that way you can go ahead and cut like 15-degree slots out of a noodle and then roll it up into a wheel and make circular type of things as well. So we have a lot that we're expanding into. Obviously, being a designer, there's a lot of different solutions, but we're also drawing on the campers as well, because we have a $200 challenge out there. If you apply, you don't even have to buy the product, but if you can apply to design solutions with Connect-a-Noodle. And we're having a competition that's done on the 4th of July. And we'll judge it August 1st. You submit your solution along with how you built it as far as instructions, and you can win $200. So I never had a game that I could make money at. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. But we're getting some interesting solutions.
I bet you are. So what's next? What do you want to do with this? Are you going to be making noodles for the rest of your life, or is there another goal in mind?
I'd like to really flesh it out with a lot more play sets. I think there's so many more things we can do with them. As I said, with the other fasteners and stuff, it creates a complete system of soft construction toys that's really full size, and you can make anything you want. So I don't want to walk away from this until it's really solved to the highest level, and kids could just, okay, we can make that. Because we buy foam core, we buy construction paper, we buy all these different things, and I'd like to see people understand that these pool noodles are really a medium of expression as well. So if you're having a play, you're doing Oklahoma or whatever, you can go ahead and use it for that. So and I've had a theater ask us, we've had museums ask us for product, and so it's got a lot of legs. So until we get it out there enough, I still continue to work full time for other companies, building other things as well. So I'm busy all around.
You are, and so your kids have been working with you on this. Either of them looking at coming on full time?
This sounds bad, but I won't let them. Not well, realize my daughter's brilliant. She's getting her PhD. She's in the second year of her PhD program, and my son is at the University of Pittsburgh, and he's in his second year of electrical engineering, and he is working in the quantum lab. And I'm like, you guys can manage it and run it, but I don't. But you're too talented. You're going to express so much creativity into the world that I can't do myself. So my exit strategy is really to get a licensee, get a partner involved in this, and to run as a team forward is really what our goal is. But I mean, obviously, if they needed a job, yeah, they definitely have any day they want.
It's funny because, I find so many different inventors where they've really teed up the product. And then they end up having, one of the kids come in and work with them or take it over and, see it to its next generation, and hence Made in America, because there's a lot of those different companies that are generational. And so it's a lot of fun to be able to talk about how that happened and, how a product kind of matures under the hands of the next generation and they get it out there. So we've really enjoyed being able to tell the stories and, share with the folks what's going on with, the different products. And so your wife, is she involved in this?
No, actually, we're no longer together. But that was kind of one of the reasons we moved to a small town called Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and there isn't a lot of things in my career. So I was like, I've taken a Ticonderoga pencil and a 2-cent piece of paper and turned it into $1 million for my customers several times. I'm going to have to do that for myself. So that's how it all started.
Well, I'm going to send you the name of a gentleman who's going to help you get to that next step. And he lives right in your backyard. So you'll be able to show off and show him what's going on. Chris, thanks so much for being with us today and sharing. We appreciate it. Everybody out there, we will be back next week with another episode of Made in America. So don't miss it. You can always learn something and find a cool new product to go and buy.